Hi, we are PARETO.
Here is the review of
Freakonomic. What do school teachers and sumo wrestlers have in common? Free question, isn't it? So let's see together. Teachers were given the economic incentives for improving their students' annual test scores. However, if their test scores dropped, they were at risk of losing bonus and even were losing their jobs. So, due to this teacher's condition, they begin to cheat in order to improve their test scores and receive benefits. They would often alter student tests and even help them with their answers.
Jangan nyontek. Gak gitu jawabnya. Aja.
In Japan, the sport of art of sumo wrestling is highly competitive and only the very best become famous and live the comfortable and luxurious lives. So because of that circumstances, this sport is contaminated with corruption. And same like the school teachers, they also begin to cheat. So if school teachers and sumo wrestlers are cheating, does it mean that every humans are cheaters? Let's meet Paul Feldman, the baggerman. He worked in US Navy, but he was known most as the guy who brings in the bagels because he treating his employee with bagels whenever they won a research contract. He decided to quit and sell bagels. He delivered more than 8,000 bagels a week for 140 companies. The interesting thing is that he found that some of his customers didn't pay his bagels, and the statistics seems to mirror street crime. So if he was asked that if could any man resist the temptation of evil if he knew his act would not be witnessed by the statistics of his bagels, his answer at least 87% of the time is yes.
Have you ever heard about the Ku Klux Klans and why the real estate agent equally with them? Do you know about asymmetric information? All about that you will find out right away in this chapter 2.
It seems ironic that the Ku Klux Klan, with short name Triple K, is being compared to a group of real estate agents because maybe you will think real estate agents to be good, helpful people, while the Triple K are mean and racist. But truthfully, their ways are similar. They are using the information you know and taking advantage of people, which is wrong. Chapter 2 in this book deals with how real estate agent and the Triple K are similar. It goes on to say that they are our keepers of information and the asymmetry information causes them to have the power over people. The comparison comes to the fact that both parties have important information by holding it. That too can also say to have information with dealing with fear. Triple K breeds fear through violence with its secret society, while the real estate agent deal with the fears of selling your house for too little money or not selling it all. Between Triple K and real estate agent cases, there is an asymmetric information. Asymmetric information is a situation in which one party in a transaction has more or superior information compared to another. This often happens in transactions where the seller knows more than the buyer. although the reverse can happen as well. Potentially, this could be a harmful situation because one party can take advantage of the other party's lack of knowledge. Stephen Levitt claims that the real estate agent manipulates information to better suit their needs. For example, in this slide, real estate agent will typically keep his own houses 10 days longer and receive $10,000 more profit than the houses that he is hired to sell. The reason they do not do this for your house is because he will only receive an extra $150 of commission for the extra 10 days of work, and it's not worth it for him. So he urges you to take the cheaper price and give him his commission. In this case, incentives lead them to go against their customers' interests. So, what makes the Triple K and group of real estate agents alike? Triple K and real estate agents drive their power for their information and knowledge. Both these examples demonstrate that economics principle of how experts from criminologists to real estate agents use their information advantage to serve their own agenda. The Triple K use their knowledge to strengthen the exclusiveness of their club, while the real estate agent use their knowledge to gain the most money possible. This chapter will also learn how individuals, organizations, and businesses often exploit their access to information at the expenses of others, and how entire industry attained great success and many significant historical events as a result of an imbalance in the flow of information. Asymmetric information can also happen when our company making employee recruitment, or when our company have partnership contract, or in the situation of merger and acquisition, or in our personal life, we want to buy a used car or electronic stuff, and so much more. Now, have you ever been in this situation where you already have option for buying a type of handphone or camera that you already researched based on your needs, but when you go to the store and meet the seller, and with information that seller have, their success convincing you to change your first option to the another electronic stuff they recommend. And from the case, we know that seller is success using asymmetric information condition become their power to convincing us as a buyer. It will be much more easier in life if no one will have manipulate us with asymmetrical information. However, asymmetrical information and power still exist today, and there is no way around it, but you know about it happening to you. Just always remember how information and knowledge that we have can become our advantage strategy. That's all the review from chapter 2. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Fitria Wijaya. What is it in your mind when we talk about drug dealers' lifestyle? Is it a lot of money, abundance of assets, nice houses, nice car with the beautiful woman? If so, why do drug dealers still live with their mothers? This book, the Freakonomics chapter 3, briefly answered the questions. He was Sid, a doctoral student who assigned to have a survey to the poorest neighborhood and find a very much difficulties on it. It because he had to face a gaggle of gangsters. He never gave up and success living 6 years together in the settlement until he got the gang's transaction reports. What kind of fact is he found? And what is in the record? Let's see. This is the big picture of whole black discipline, the gang. It has central with 20 directors who receive 20% of sales from each franchise. Each franchise consists of the leader, the officer, act as a security when the gang war is happen, the treasurer who is responsible for the financial control, and the runner whose job is doing transaction with the supplier. From the report, there was a very tidy financial records for 4 years. From year 1 to 4, there always a growth in revenue from cocaine sales. Take a look deeper to year 3. It has the detail on the revenue and the expenditure. Net profit for JT salary is about $8,500 per month. JT is the leader of the franchise, so JT is one of the men in the middle line management from whole of the organization. The rest from revenue less expenses less GT salary is only 9,500 who divided to officer as the first line management and to the foot soldier or the drug dealers that has 50%. Now let's take a look to this pyramid. In the drug gangs as well as the capitalist company, you should be near to the top of the pyramid to earn huge salaries. Fact also show that most of the foot soldiers work as a former employee to add income to obtain a minimum wage. It appears that the income of a drug dealer was only $3.3 per hour. This meant that under the current minimum wage, that's why drug dealers still live with their mothers or their families, even though they live below the poverty line. Of course, as the top of our middle line management, you can earn big money, but the total number of people who get big salary is that only 2% out of all who work in the gang. As a beginner foot soldier, they must face an unpleasant working condition that they have to stand on a street corner all day and make transactions with the addicts. Foot soldiers are also lived with the risk of being arrested by the police, risk of minor or severe injuries when the gang wars, or even killed with the opportunity is 1 among 4. What a big opportunities. The opportunities larger than the prisoner on death row in Texas. We know that Texas is the state with the most white executing prisoners. What a job. With so many risks and low wages, and then why people want to take the job? Because they all want to succeed in this highly competitive field, where if you made it to the top, you will get a very large pay, not including fame and power. In the world of drug trafficking, a lot of people competing for a slightly price. A lot of people who want to work even with low wages, they are playing the same game, a game that is better seen as a tournament. You have to start from the bottom to the top, must be willing to work hard. To advance to the next tournament, you must show that you are spectacular. Stop when you realize you cannot survive in the tournament. For the leader, in the business of drugs, violence is a disorder that affects less good. Take another example. If the McDonald's and Burger King into a price war to gain market share, they can compensate by selling more to cover the decline in prices. But in the business of drugs, violence of gang wars to seize territory will only make the sales decline sharply because customers fear of violence. But for foot soldiers, gang wars is an event to show that they were not afraid. The incentive from them is to be famous and be able to set up the next tournament. On the other side, an incentive for JT is the development of businesses and organizations. JT managed to bring the gang to its former glory and peace. JT knows how to motivate others. JT appointed to the board of directors, although at the end of his career, JT signed in federal prison. That's all from chapter 3. Here we can see how the conventional wisdom is often becoming a tissue of lies, self-interest, and convenience. Conventional wisdom can come from anyone and anything, including economists, advertising executives, the defenders of the homeless, women activists, political advisors, and people from many other professions. They tend to have different incentives from most of us. The incentive can be turned 180 degrees depending on the situation.
Guys, I'm Bimala. Chapter 4 of Economist will tell you about the correlation of the legalization of abortion in the USA in early 70s with the decrease of the crimes a couple years later. Enjoy!
Thousands of anti-abortion demonstrators gathered today for the annual March for Life in Washington, D.C.
Equal pay for equal work, join our crowd. Equal pay for equal work. Abortion is our right.
Good evening. In a landmark ruling, the Supreme Court today legalized abortions. The majority in cases from Texas and Georgia said that the decision to end a pregnancy during the first 3 months belongs to the woman and her doctor, not the government. Thus, the anti-abortion laws of 46 states were rendered unconstitutional.
The legalization of abortion in the 70s had resulted in an unintended benefit of the decreasing of crimes in the 90s. The whole generation of potentially unwanted children were never born because of legalization of abortion. Around 20 years later, at the ages between 18 and 24 years old, or to the point in time when they were going to be at their peak time ages, they were simply not there to do the crime. Most people would not think that there would be a relationship between crime and abortion. However, the book brings up a good theoretical point that makes us think that it could be possible. The book states that babies whose mother would have aborted them but they didn't will receive less attention and care than a wanted baby. Therefore, they grow up in a worse condition and may be more prone to criminal activity than a baby growing up in a loving and healthy environment. Based on the research between 1988 and 1994, violent crime fell 13% compared to the other states, while their murder rates fell 23% more than those of the other states. Since 1985, states with the high abortion rates have experienced a roughly 30% drop in crime relative to low abortion states.
Thousands of anti-abortion demonstrators gathered today for the annual March for Life in Washington, D.C. The march protests the Supreme Court's landmark 1973 decision that declared a constitutional right to abortion. A rally was held, as always, on the national mall.
Despite what people feel about abortion, when the government gives a woman the opportunity to make her own decision about abortion, she generally does a good job of figuring out if she is in a position to raise the baby well. Can she give the baby a loving and healthy environment? If she decided she can't, she often chooses the abortion.
Hi, my name is Yusti. Today we will talk about parenting. What makes parents perfect? Do you have children in your home? And how you grew up them? With traditional wisdom or with modern lifestyle? Well, that is your choice. But the Freakonomic Group tells us about parenting in different point of view.
Parenting is still a matter of controversy among the experts. They argue about everything in parenting, like breastfeeding, sleeping a child, even to provide nutrition for the children. Guess who is the victim of these situations? The victim of the controversy is parents. Separating fact from rumor is always hard work, especially for busy parents. Should they rely on the controversy, or parents should rely on other aspects? Let's take a look case by case. Which is the most dangerous for the kids? Swimming pool or a gun? Most parents say gun is most dangerous for the children. Yes, it's simple answer, because gun is more outrage, sadistic, and deadly. But the data tell us different way. In US, in 1 year, there is a child who has died from drowning for about 11,000 residential pool in US, approximately 550 deaths. Meanwhile, there is only one child killed by gun for every 1 million, approximately 175 deaths a year. Therefore, a better parent should be worried of their child going to home with swimming pool. The child will be more likely to die there than by the guns. These situations tell us about almost parents are terrible in risk assessor.
Let's take a look for different case. Black kids versus white kids. Which is more clever between them? Is there any relationship with the number of books that they have? After several analyses and comparisons, the author conclude that when children own books, the books become part of their life and tend to be valued more than a book that is just borrowed. In addition, parents who buy their children books tend to be more educated. Knowing what you know about the art of parenting, risk assessment, and a little about conventional wisdom is a good model of parenting. But don't forget about genetic aspect. It's play important too in growing up the child. So there are a lot to be considered in parenting, right? Well, yes it is. But the most unique important thing in parenting is how you plan your family, and it starts from your wedding parties. So, be careful to who you are, with whom you married, and how you live your life. Because all the matter about that will start long time ago before the parenting begins.
In this chapter, we're going to tell about the socio-economic pattern of naming children. Well, everyone has a name, right? But how important name really mean? For you, name is your identity. But for your parent, name is hope.
There are many cases unique pertaining to a name, like an old man who gave the name of his son winner and loser, where in fact loser indeed successful, but winner in fact has a very long criminal record. Then there is a girl named Temptress who charged having unpleasant behavior. Actually, how does name affect you? Then the name you give to your child will affect his life. Could it determine your future? Or whether it reflects the life of his name? What causes this? Is it culture? Is it economic? Thanks to economics Stephen Levitt in his book, Find What Your Parent Name You Doesn't Impact Your Economic Future. So, if your name Rezeki, it doesn't mean instantly you will have a lot of Rezeki in the future. But your name certainly does affect your future. Some startling research has found that job applicants with black name are less likely to get callback from the potential employer. This research was done by sending out large resume samples to employers, some with black names and some with white names. More likely to have callback if it is a white name. We see that discrimination still happens in the workplace.
Well, your name may play a role in your career. Some people with this mindset have expectations that influence their interact and behave. This theory, called nominative determination, hypothesizes that people tend to gravitate to an area of work that fit their name. Your name will affect the way to your interact. Like Hakim, they will pretend as Hakim or judge. And Dermawan, they will pretend that they were kind. And Jaya, they will playful that they are successful. Furthermore, Levitt finds that adults with a black name thus end up with the lower social status.
Did you see something? There is a clear pattern here, from an alluring name of parent among the upper class and educated. Then the name will move down the socio-economic level. The name will be used by the middle income in the decades to come. Knowingly or not, parents like the name that smells of success. And what about the upper class? In line with the adoption of upper class names widely, upper class people will find a new name which is considered anti-mainstream, which it is in line with the upscale consumer behavior. There are anti-mainstream both in choosing a name for their children and even using some goods. Of course, various motivation role here when the parent consider the name for their children. Maybe they want something that is related to the tradition, religion, or even a trend. Unwitting parent looking for something smart and classy sound, according to the perception of them. Believe me, the name of celebrity has a small impact against the name of the baby.
But all parents have hope of a name, a desire for the success of their children. The name may not have made a different piece, but parents at least feel that they have been doing the best for their children. So, have you considered to change your name?
1.